So I just came back from seeing Batman v Superman, and let's say that I'm a little bit worried for the DC Cinematic Universe. But I'm not saying this is a bad movie, I didn't say that. What I'm saying is that this movie is not the best, but not the worst, and it does actually, have a pretty good start to it. Bruce is running through Metropolis as it's getting destroyed and all this stuff is happening, and you're seeing it from Batman's perspective, and you really understand his side of the story, and you really do understand why he's going up against Superman, because the events of Man of Steel, which he was just so careless, and he was basically letting the entire city be destroyed, like he was fighting Zod and stuff like that. Things were flying everywhere, and he wasn't really minding his surroundings. And by the way, Batman was done pretty well, I might say. That he was, pretty terrifying in this movie. Like, as the movie started and we started to see a little bit more of Batman, he was pretty, not freaky, but, I guess, terrifying, scary. So, in that way, for the Batman, they captured Batman really well. They did him pretty well, and Ben Affleck did a great job as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I honestly think that Batman can be done no wrong, because he is just such an interesting character. He's so interesting in this, and as I said, you really do understand his side of the story. And then you've got Superman's side of the story. He's just a man who's trying to help out. He's not a god like everyone says he is. He's just a man. He's trying to help out, and you do understand his side of the story, but I feel like they spent more time on Batman's side of the story, because we already, got Superman's side of the story in Man of Steel, and they do, go a little bit more deeper into Superman in this, and like, we do understand him a little bit more from the first from Man of Steel, but this really is, just showing Batman's side of the story a lot more than, say, Superman's. And one of the golden parts of this movie is the tension between Batman and Superman. You see it build up over time, and I will say that the build-up to the inevitable conflict between Batman and Superman was done really well. And for a movie named Batman v Superman, you gotta do that part of it right, and they did do that part of it right. The tension and the build-up and the conflict between Batman and Superman is by far the best part of this movie. It's what we wanted, it's what we got, and it's good. But after that, the movie starts to lose its goodness. And that's only because the man behind this, the one who has been pulling the strings on Batman and Superman, causing this tension and conflict between them, is Lex Luthor. And I will say that I don't like Lex Luthor in this movie. I don't like this incarnation of Lex Luthor. I mean, he's like the Batman Returns Penguin equivalent of this movie. He's kind of a psycho, and Lex Luthor isn't really a psycho at all. He's intellectually superior than Superman. Like, his intellect has said to it matches Batman's. He is like the bad guy version of Batman to go up against Superman. I mean, for goodness sake, Jesse Eisenberg, you'd think that he'd be great as Lex Luthor, because he has played, very intellectual characters, and those characters being superior than everyone else, intellectually. And you'd think that he'd do a good job as Lex Luthor. But he doesn't. And I honestly think it's because of how they wrote Lex Luthor for this movie. He's nothing like the Lex Luthor from the comics. He's nothing like the Lex Luthor from the original Superman movies. He was by far one of the biggest disappointments in this movie. The other one is, I would have to say, Doomsday, because Doomsday is in this, and just in case you didn't know. And this isn't a spoiler, so calm down, alright, because it was in one of the trailers. So, despite how bad that trailer was, it was still in a trailer. So Doomsday is in the movie, and he is kind of shoehorned into the movie. I mean, for goodness sake, the movie is titled Batman v Superman, so you'd think that the climax of the movie would be between them. It's not really. And it's been in a ton of the trailers, if not all of them, where you see Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman teaming up to go up against Frankenstein's monster, Doomsday, Frankenstein being Lex Luthor. And I feel like the climax of the movie, the final battle between these three heroes and Doomsday kinda took away the epicness that was Batman versus Superman, because Doomsday isn't in the title of this movie, and it feels like this movie is trying to cram all these comic book storylines and stuff like that into one movie, and it doesn't, and it kind of takes away from the Batman v Superman of this movie, because it's Batman v Superman, and doesn't, by the end of the movie, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a Justice League movie. And I know this is a setup for Justice League, but you can set up the Justice League while still having the main conflict of the movie be Batman and Superman. You don't have to make them fight a villain and team up and stuff. They can sort that out in the next movie. And speaking of Wonder Woman, I think Wonder Woman is done pretty well in this, like, considering she is like the first cinematic incarnation of Wonder Woman. This won't be, for all these characters, this won't be the only cinematic incarnation of all these heroes. There will be others in the future, and probably better. But I guess where I'm going with this is that Zack Snyder really hasn't captured the tone and vibe of these characters. Now that is excluding Batman, because Batman is done really well in this movie. I think he's done pretty well in this movie. So, concerning all the other characters, like Superman, Wonder Woman, and all the other characters, like, we haven't really seen them yet, but this is kind of why I'm concerned for the DC Cinematic Universe, because if Zack Snyder is the one helming it all, then I am concerned, because he doesn't, he just doesn't, it doesn't feel like what I've read and what I've watched, what I grew up with, like the Batman and Superman and all the DC cartoons that I grew up with. It doesn't feel like what I've grown up with and what I've been reading lately and stuff like that. But overall, this is an okay movie. It's not the best, but again, it's not the worst. And that's all I'm going to say for this movie review and this movie. Anyway, please go down, like and comment on this video, and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Bye.